Have you ever wondered where cricket, this glorious game of bat and ball, actually came from? It's a sport that captivates billions, a religion for many, but its origins are surprisingly humble and a little bit murky. Let's travel back in time and uncover the fascinating history of cricket. Our story begins not in a grand stadium, but in the green fields of southeast England, sometime during the Saxon or Norman periods. Historians believe it started as a children's game played by shepherd communities. They would use a matted lump of wool as a ball, a shepherd's crook as a bat, and the wicket gate of a sheep pen as, well, the wicket. The name cricket itself might come from the Anglo-Saxon word crix, meaning a shepherd's staff. Imagine that. The ancestor of a modern cricket bat was a simple stick used to herd sheep. For centuries, cricket remained a simple pastime for rural folk. But by the 17th century, something started to change. Adults began to take an interest, and gambling on the outcomes of matches became incredibly popular. This is where things get serious. The first recorded cricket match took place in Sussex in 1697. It was an 11-a-side game, and the stakes were high. 50 guineas per side. That was a huge amount of money back then. The 18th century was cricket's golden age in England. It became the national sport, loved by aristocrats and commoners alike. This is when the first formal rules were written down. The famous Hambledon Club in Hampshire was the sport's epicenter. They were the unofficial lawmakers and the best team of their time. They introduced key developments like the third stump, making the game more balanced between bat and ball. Before that, bowlers had it tough, with just 2 stumps to aim at. Now, let's talk about bowling. Can you believe that for the first 100 years or so, all bowling was done underarm, rolled along the ground like in lawn bowls? It was considered ungentlemanly to bowl too fast. But then, a woman named Christiana Wiles changed everything. The story goes that her wide, fashionable skirt got in the way of her underarm delivery, so she started bowling with a round arm action. Her brother, John Wiles, saw this, thought it was a brilliant idea, and introduced it to men's cricket in the 1820s. Of course, the traditionalists were horrified. Tay cailleted throwing and cheating. But the new style was so effective that it eventually became legal, paving the way for overarm bowling, which was legalized in 1864. This completely revolutionized the game, giving bowlers the weapons of pace and bounce we know today. As the British Empire expanded, so did cricket. The game was carried across the seas by soldiers, sailors, and administrators. It was seen as a way to instill British values like fair play and discipline. The first official international cricket match wasn't between England and Australia, as you might think. It was actually between the USA and Canada in 1844, played in New York. Yes, you heard that right, the USA. Sadly, baseball soon overshadowed cricket's popularity there. Cricket truly took root in countries like Australia, India, South Africa, and the West Indies. In Australia, the sport became a symbol of national identity. The legendary Ashes series began in 1882 after Australia famously beat England on English soil for the first time. A British newspaper published a satirical obituary stating that English cricket had died, and the body will be cremated and the ashes taken to Australia. The next time England toured Australia, their captain vowed to regain the ashes, and a sporting tradition for the ages was born. The prize, a tiny terracotta urn, is rumored to contain the ashes of a burnt cricket bale. In India, cricket was initially a sport of the elite, introduced by the British, but it soon captured the imagination of the entire nation. The Parsis were the first Indian community to embrace the game, forming the Orient Cricket Club in Mumbai in 1848. Indian cricket came of age in 1932 when they were granted Test status, but the moment that truly transformed India into a cricketing superpower was their stunning victory in the 1983 World Cup, led by the legendary Kapil Dev. It was an underdog story that inspired a generation and turned cricket into the passion it is today in the subcontinent. The West Indies have their own incredible cricket story. For many years, the team was dominated by white players, but in the 1960s, with Frank Worrell as the first permanent black captain, the team became a symbol of Caribbean unity and pride. And then came the 1970s and 80s, the era of the Calypso cricketers. They dominated world cricket with a fearsome battery of fast bowlers like Michael Holden, Joel Garner, and Malcolm Marshall, and destructive batsmen like Viv Richards. They didn't just win, they played with a flair and swagger that was captivating to watch. They were a force of nature. Of course, the game has continued to evolve. The 20th century saw the introduction of one-day cricket, culminating in the first World Cup in 1975. This shorter format brought a new, attacking dimension to the game. And then, at the turn of the 21st century, came the biggest revolution of all. 2020 cricket. T20 was designed to be fast, explosive, and fan-friendly. Purists were skeptical, but its massive success, especially with the launch of the Indian Premier League, or IPL, has changed the financial and cultural landscape of the sport forever. Players now have to master new skills like the reverse sweep and the helicopter shot, things that would have been unimaginable a few decades ago. From a shepherd's pastime in rural England to a global spectacle watched by billions, cricket's journey is a tale of evolution, revolution, and cultural fusion. It's a sport that has mirrored history, challenged social norms, and united nations. It's a simple game of bat and ball, yet it holds within it centuries of stories, passion, and drama. And that's what makes it the greatest game in the world. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this trip through cricket history, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.